Acknowledge our 39th president, Jimmy Carter, 2002 Nobel Prize winner. We've all seen what he's done with Habitat for Humanity, even into his very late 80s. A great humanitarian and passed away at the age of 100 this week. But I also want to remember the people who are suffering in LA County and the incredible firestorm that's going on down there. We wish them good luck. We really hope that our firefighters are protected, and we appreciate everything that they're doing and all the firefighters across Northern California who have gone down to support that effort. So I'd just like to take a moment of silence, if we could, before we start our meeting for President Carter as well as the people in Southern California. All right. We start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Couchy, it's been a while. Would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Thought you were going to go with a newbie.
They're next month.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Ms. Brewer, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Couchy?
Here.
Commissioner Israelit?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Vice Chair Martos?
Here. All right. Approval of minutes. Since we have two new commissioners, the remaining three commissioners can vote on the approval of minutes. So we're looking at the minutes from December 12th, and that was just the three of us back on December 12th. Did you two have a chance to review the minutes? Any corrections, or
I have
you good with them?
corrections.
Okay.
I had no corrections.
Okay, and I had no corrections either. Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes from December 12th, 2024 meeting.
Seconded.
Second, and I have no objections, so by unanimous passed. And we will move on to public comment. Mr. Wong, do we need any disclaimers or anything stated for the people that are online or listening in?
Through your chair, again, tonight, I guess moving forward, these will be hybrid meetings where the meeting is, we're able to be in chambers in person, as well as folks are able to watch online. What's changed is folks online, they will not be able to communicate with us during the meeting. They have the opportunity before the meeting to provide an email. We'll provide to you all at the meeting or as we get them. And that deadline is by 4 today is the latest they can send email. Otherwise, we will not be able to communicate, or anything that they have won't be the records. If that is the new policy supported or put down by council regarding, there's just been some bad behavior as we've talked about.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Wong. So during the public comment section right now, these are things that are not on our agenda. On our agenda for the public, probably you're most interested in 6A, which is the proposal to implement a right turn. So anything other than that, and you probably don't have much interest in our vice chair nominate, chair and vice chair, and review of our commission operations, TSP committees. But if you have something for the right turn proposal for tonight, hold that until we get to item 6A. Anything else can be brought up now, and so I'm going to read this notice about public comments. Members of the public may speak on any topic, any item that is not on our agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future commission agenda may do so as part of the public comment period. The Ralph M. Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits this commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. So does anybody have any public comment that is not on our agenda that they want to share? Mr. Valesco.
Good evening, commissioners. Happy New Year, and thanks again for your service for the city. I know it can be a thankless job, but it's a very important job. And I know it's hard to always find consensus year to year, and the politics of the situation with people wanting more and more things to slow things down or make things more safely. It's always very taxing. So I appreciate that you're dedicating your time to be able to do this. A couple of things. I live on the 1200 block of Cappuccino, and there was that project that had like a bike boulevard on Paloma, Carmelita, Grove. Cappuccino was one of them. I've been wondering, like, what is the next step for that project? There's nothing on the website, and when I tried to get an answer, like, what is the next step? What I'm told is that the bumps that are in the streets are temporary, but there's no clarity as to how temporary, what is the next step, what are the decision points? Does it come back to this committee to try to make them permanent, or are all of them gonna stay, or are more gonna be added? So hopefully in the engineer's report, maybe the commission can hear what is the next step, because there are neighbors like me, and I know there are people who watch online who will be trying to find out as well, like, what is the next step? Secondly, Carmelita has all those speed bumps now, and what we've noticed in our neighborhood is that because of the speed bumps on Carmelita, people are now trying to avoid the speed bumps, and they're now going on to Broadway and Sanchez, which are the two parallel streets, which makes sense. Like, when you squeeze the toothpaste that way, they're gonna have to come out some other way. So I'm wondering, like, what is the next step to consider traffic calming or any other speed bumps on Sanchez and Broadway? Lastly, I've asked this before as well. I believe the speed limits in the city are not current. I've asked, like, what is the last time the speed limits were calibrated or done? And it looked like it was still in 2014, which is 11 years away. And I think it was 2014 based on 2013 data. So it's really stale. It's 12 years. So I don't believe that those speed limits, posted speed limits in the city, are enforceable by radar because of that, because the judge is just going to throw them away. And primarily because the streets have changed since the speed limits were first done in 2013, 2014. California has bike lanes now. Carolyn has bike lanes. I think when that was done, Carolyn was still 4 lanes. Truesdale still has 35 mile per hour in front of the hospital. But truthfully, in front of the hospital there and the Mills acute care and the other senior citizens that are there, I think that deserves consideration for 25. So if the commission maybe as a goal for this year would consider promoting or prioritizing the speed limit setting, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valesco. Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close item 5. Public comment, we'll move on to item 6A. Proposal to implement a right turn only restriction along Bellevue Avenue at El Camino Real. Mr. Wong, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Martos. Let me cue it up. All right. Tonight before the commission is a proposal to implement a westbound right turn only along Bellevue Avenue at El Camino Real. So the goals for tonight's meeting is obviously we'll provide the community and the commission with a presentation with the details of the proposal to restrict right turn on west, or make a right turn only restriction on westbound California, or sorry, westbound Bellevue. Obviously obtain community feedback tonight, engage in discussion, and then staff seeking a motion of support for, so we could determine the community's level of support for this proposal. All right, some of the background. El Camino Real is a major arterial within the city, carrying approximately 30,000 vehicles per day. El Camino is owned and operated by Caltrans, something some folks don't know. with Bellevue on our side, on the eastern approach, westbound direction is in the right-of-way of Burlingame. And on the other side, on the west side of El Camino, there are portions that belong to both the city of Burlingame as well as the town of Hillsborough. Along El Camino, as you all may know, there are eucalyptus trees of varying sizes, and due to their trunk diameters, it impacts the visibility at many of the intersections along El Camino. Bellevue is not only a location where these trees exist and have an impact on driver visibility, but it's also a non-signalized intersection. Previously, there has been a no left turn for westbound vehicles has been implemented. Again, that was to install to reduce the folks trying to go southbound El Camino and to reduce the safety concerns. But even with this improvement, we do have, there have been collisions along at this intersection. And lastly, several years ago, this commission reviewed potentially closing off Bellevue at El Camino. And then that would mean folks at the time would have to double back and use Floribunda to access El Camino or go to Chapin. The feedback we got that night was not strong, didn't support that. And a lot of the reasons were obviously it impacts their access. They'd be kind of cut off. So at the time we kind of held on that proposal. So, but we're back tonight with another one. So moving left to right, El Camino Real, and that's going in the northbound direction, Burlingame Avenue, Chapin, Occidental, and our intersection of Bellevue, El Camino. We're specifically talking about the westbound direction, and you can see right there, blocked off there, that's the grove of trees that have a significant impact on the driver visibility. So what we're proposing is, first off, striping, a right turn only with an arrow and a pavement legend, as well as we'll be putting up some signage indicating that that's the only movement allowed. And just to further dissuade people from making that, we'd be dropping in for now the white delineator, or in this case, yellow delineators right there to indicate the lane line and kind of angle them so they're pointing northbound. So forgive the graphic, but something like this where we'd have signs and then delineators to kind of narrow this up and force folks to make the right turn on El Camino Real. So yeah, staff is proposing limiting access for westbound traffic at El Camino to right turns only. The restriction would be considered to be implemented with signage, pavement striping, and these channelizers or delineators, as we call them. The action would only restrict westbound vehicles access to El Camino, both eastbound access to El Camino from Bellevue and the access from El Camino Real to either a side of Bellevue would not be affected. With the proposed change, westbound through and left turn movements onto El Camino from Bellevue would either need to occur at Floribunda or move to Chapin, which are both signalized intersections and are improved for right-of-way access or assignment, as well as limiting potential those collisions of vehicles crossing El Camino versus turning from Bellevue. Sorry. With that, again, review the presentation. It looks like there's some folks here tonight. We'll take some feedback. We sent out several notices, a couple hundred notices for residents in the immediate neighborhood. We'll engage in the open discussion, and hopefully we can get a motion of support from the community and from the commission regarding this change. With that, sorry, this is my presentation. Be open for any
All right.
questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wong. So for the public and our new commissioners, the process will be that we'll ask questions. The commissioners will ask questions of Mr. Wong about the project. And then we would like to open it up to public comment, and that'll be your opportunity to provide us feedback. And once everyone has had a chance to provide public comment, I'll close public comment, and then the commissioners will discuss and we'll make a decision either in support or not in support or support with changes. So we'll start with questions. So let me start with Commissioner Johnson.
I don't know if I have any questions. I have thoughts about it, but would we just hold thoughts till later?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll just go with question now. Okay, no problem. And then let me go to my left. We'll just go down the row. Commissioner Brown, Mr. Brown,
Yeah,
Commissioner
I think
Brown.
the only question that I have at this point is this, I know there's a larger project that is happening on El Camino. Would this be part of that project, or would this precede that project that's happening on El Camino right now?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
This project would precede that. That project on El Camino is, as I said, Caltrans owns and maintains El Camino, so it'd be their project. We're working with them on it. And so at this particular location, one of the improvements that they will be doing is that crosswalk will have a pedestrian crossing. At the crosswalk that is there now, it's planned to have not a rapid flashing beacon, but maybe you've seen these in San Mateo. They're called a hawk, where it actually has cars stop. It's just not a warning device to say someone's about to enter the crosswalk. You will get a red signal indication as a driver. So it'll improve pedestrian crossing. So I know just recently looking at some of the plans, I think there's probably at least another few locations. The same improvement will be there near Willow, over by for the McKinley School, and a couple others. So again, but this is our project. We'd just be making some tweaks here.
Thank you. for
Yeah,
that
Of course.
Commissioner Israelet.
I do have a couple questions. One is, I know we talked about, I did remember that we talked about, I remember that 2018 conversation, and I remember deciding we don't need to block the road. Let's just end left turns from Bellevue. But so why are we having this conversation now again? How many collisions have there been, and have they been when people are trying to turn left or they're trying to turn right?
Please.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's, well, the no left turns were in previously. So there may be some folks right now, because the only thing that's changed is signs have been added. So potentially they're trying to make a left turn to go southbound El Camino. But recently there have been several collisions where folks are trying to cross El Camino. So that movement would be restricted with this right turn out.
Pedestrians?
Vehicles trying to cross.
Okay. Okay. And thank you. That makes sense. And then the other thing is, as a member of the El Camino Real Renewal Project Subcommittee, which has been postponed for a very long time because Caltrans has not started the project when we expected. Before we would, one thing I think we should think about is that grove of trees that you pointed out that hinder visibility on your left as you're at El Camino and Bellevue. I know a lot of the trees are being removed, and they're also, if they're being replaced, they're being moved back so that visibility at all this intersection should be improved. Do you know if this intersection is one of those?
Mm-hmm.
These trees are some of the trees that have been identified as ones that will be most likely removed. The ones that, whatever we had shown.
In the grove.
Yeah. So, so I guess knowing that that's going to happen, supposedly now it's spring 2025, has staff taken into account that might fix the problem? And do we want to wait? I mean, have you guys decided that that wouldn't help enough, and so that we should move forward? Or do you think have you looked at maybe waiting to see what happens with those trees and see what happens with visibility at that intersection before making a change?
Through chair. Yes, we have. As you know, some of these projects, you never know when they could happen, right? Because of something that happens down the line, which is also a reason why the improvements we're looking at are the delineators, right? It's just signage, striping, and delineators. We're not proposing to make a concrete island there to channelize folks, which maybe is something we would consider, but in this case, so we put these in, the El Camino project comes through, those, trees are removed, we can, at that time, re-review the sight lines. And if folks are in support of, that it's easier, especially with the pedestrian hawk system there, that people are able to cross, it's better visibility, we could pop these up and put it back to the way it is, but we don't know when that project will go. So, and just from our traffic sergeant, just this past year, there have been actually 5 collisions in the last 6 months that have occurred this way. So it's something that's definitely, for whatever reason now, is picked up.
Got it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couchy, any questions?
Yeah, so just a couple. So you did ask 2 of my questions, so
Grapevines.
grapevines, yeah.
Stealing your thunder?
So when we talk about the temporary
Delineators?
delineators, those would be reviewed again when the El Camino project takes place. If it is determined that they need to stay, do we have a plan on how to make that something that's more attractive?
We will lay out something similar, but we'll have to, because, it's now we're raising above ground. We want to make sure that we're not adding to, we'll have to look at drainage. So it'll require a little bit more design. This is just popping it in the footprint
Right.
of what it would look like, but that would, we would need to take a little closer look, but at that time, we'll deal with it as far as allocating budget and making it a project.
Because my only fear is a lot of these temporary projects we've done,
Mhm.
we don't have the budget to make them permanent. So I think we need to start thinking about when we do the temporary, how do we make sure we have budget for the next step? And then my second question is, on the opposite side, what is the collisions looking like from that side? Is it totally different from that side? Is there any changes that have been needed for the opposite side? So I'm talking about if you're going on Bellevue and you're going southbound. Just trying to understand what's the results of coming from that direction.
Third chair, you're talking about
Coming in.
Yeah.
So, and that's where some of this, if you've been out there, we only have a restriction, a no left turn restriction on this westbound direction, because this small portion is in the town of Hillsborough. And so we're not able to do anything with that. We can, and I imagine back since he's left, the no left turn restriction was put in, was before my time. I imagine that we went through and we'll communicate with them that they have the option, but we won't be putting signs in there right away. We will allow them to let them know that what we're doing and they like to match it. But yeah, that's kind of the case here.
It'd be good for us to kind of communicate, plan with them.
And I'm sure it was previously with that no left turn, and you could see why there's no signs in the other direction. So, and maybe things have changed there. So we will definitely hit them up if we get, again, a part of this is if we get the support of the community and we'll go through, because we also have to coordination with Caltrans. So as part of that, we will also work on coordinating with Town of Hillsborough.
That is it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when the chair goes last, almost all the questions are asked. So I only have one. I only have one more question, Mr. Wong. Can you go back to your temporary? Yeah, that right there. So maybe this is for Sergeant Roberts. If somebody were to go straight, is that enforceable? Even though it says right turn only, it is enforceable.
Currently, there's a no left turn
Yeah,
sign, so that's enforceable as a failure to obey a posted sign.
yeah,
So this would be the same
okay,
failure to obey the posted sign.
okay. Because I could see somebody easily just go around, I need to cross El Camino, and they'll just go around and go straight. But if it's enforceable, then, okay. it's about as good as we can do. All right. Yeah, and the other commissioners asked all the other questions I had on my list too. So I think we'll move on to public comment. So does anybody want to make comments on this project? Please step up to the microphone, tell us your name, where you live, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Tanya, and I'm a resident on Bellevue Avenue. And I have actually had to respond to about 3 of the accidents that have happened in that intersection. It's extremely dangerous. I do want to say I really appreciate the pedestrian walkway that's going to come up. I think that's a really great idea. So I really want to applaud you on that. In terms of in regards to the left turn, that sign you cannot see. That is not a visible sign. And in terms of the right turn proposal, from my understanding, accidents, at least 2 of the accidents that I responded to, it were people making that right turn. Okay, you cannot see anything when you're making that right turn from the left, unless you're in a very good, what I call a sweet spot. Then you can see the lights on Chapin and you can have an idea that they're red, and you might be able to inch out just enough to see what's coming. But even then, it's very, very dangerous. And the last accident that I actually responded to, the SUV that was involved in that accident ended up across the street, facing into the fence across the street, inches from a very big tree. There were 2 elderly people that got out of that car that day, completely scratched up and completely in shock. Had they had hit that tree, we know the tree always wins. So I really like the conversation that we're having here. I think it's wonderful. I like the proposal about the pedestrian walkway, and the lights, but I think there needs to be a different plan. This right turn is not a great idea. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Hi.
Hey, my name is Katie Heuser. I'm a transportation planner and a resident in 1469 Bellevue, so right at the the northeast corner of this intersection. While I recognize that this might be inconvenient for drivers, I'm in support of the plan. I think that the safety benefits totally outweigh the costs, namely the serious or even fatal crashes that may occur at this intersection. I moved in August and have seen several near misses, several crashes, and it's really concerning that this is happening right outside my home. I personally avoid crossing El Camino either as a pedestrian or as a driver, and there are really 2 easy alternatives at Chapin or at Floribunda. So I think it just makes sense to restrict through traffic from Bellevue. I also want to take this opportunity to request a marked crossing across Bellevue. I think that'd be nice. There are people crossing there anyways, and I think it just makes sense. Yeah, finally, I want to reiterate my support of restricting movements to right turn only. And I also want to say thank you for distributing the flyers about this public meeting. I would not have known about it otherwise. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? Hi, welcome.
My name's Ruby LeGrander. I live in the same building at 1469. I've been there for 4 years. I think on average, we have that many every 6 months because I literally can hear the accident from my apartment and I don't even have to look out. I just call 911 and then go out to the balcony and start reporting what I see. So I have responded to many of those accidents. I love what Caltrans is doing. I went out there and talked to them and their plans. Hopefully they can get that done. What I would like to urge is that all of this effort that we have putting towards this solution, that we actually put it towards working with Caltrans to get this a priority on their agenda because I agree, not all of the accidents that I've at least witnessed have been because people are making left-hand turns. It's not that, it's making the right-hand turn. And I'll reiterate what you said, that there is a sweet spot. If you sit back just a little bit, you have one break in the trees where you can see the Chapin light and you can see traffic coming and you can try to time it. But that's only because I've lived there for 4 years. I used to have to take my daughter to BIS. And so I figured out the sweet spot, right? But there's a lot of people that use that intersection that don't use that sweet spot. Also, to double down on the no left-hand turn, I mean, you can't even see the sign in the picture here. And when you're out there, you can barely see it. It also recently got hit, so it got moved and it's got paint across it. And I see police officers make left-hand turns with no lights, no sirens going. So every day that I walk my dog, I see somebody make a left-hand turn, unless, which has been very nice, we have somebody sitting there, trying to manage the traffic. The pedestrian crossing, what it sounds like they're doing with Caltrans is wonderful. That absolutely needs to happen. I almost got hit there with my kid. I almost recently got hit there when I came to talk to you guys about the accident that was happening there. And there was all the cones set up and everybody was slowing down. One lane stopped for me and the next lane didn't. So that would be great. The one comment, if this does go through, that I would say I would suggest we look at again, which are the yellow lines on there. Those are very distracting for drivers to be able to see pedestrians. And we have a ton of kids that attend McKinley and they walk across that opening right there every morning. And that would be a really big visual distraction. And I'm already afraid, like when kids cross there, just going across Bellevue, people coming off of El Camino, making a right-hand turn down Bellevue, can't see the pedestrians because the tree is in the way. So the trees are blocking all of our visibility. People coming off the Chapin light are going really fast towards the pedestrian crosswalk. So I really urge you guys, I love that you've come up with a solution, but I think we need to get Caltrans to do their job. And I'd love us to spend the time and money and effort to do that versus this fix. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Valesco.
Hello again. I remember this discussion back in 2018. I think I was here as well. I support the right turn only. I thought that was something that was resolved at the last meeting, but it makes sense. I think the last time this was heard, it was on the heels of a fatal. I think there was a motorcycle fatal at that intersection a couple of years ago. Before that, the right turn only makes sense. The other thing I just wanted to point out was that the poles that are being shown are in front of a driveway. So I don't know if that's gonna get in the way of somebody trying to make a left turn into the driveway or trying to get left out of the driveway. So the last thing that we wanna see there is like poles that are been downed because they've been hit by, I don't know, delivery trucks or UPS trucks that are trying to get in and out of the building. So I don't know, maybe that's something that the residents have already agreed that they can't make a left turn into or out of their driveway, which is like right next to the corner. The other thing I would recommend is to add a right turn only ahead sign before this point, like the intersection beforehand, so that you don't get here and then you get surprised. So when you get to the intersection before, you get diverted into another street. And then hopefully work with Google Maps or the navigation companies so they won't direct tourists or people who don't know the area to try to make this crazy left turn or go into Hillsborough. The last thing I wanted to highlight is the Hawk or the flashing red lights that are going to be done as part of Caltrans project. I hope when that goes in that this right turn only is reevaluated, because then it might be that the Hawk or the signal that's going to be there would eventually become like a red, yellow, green signal, in which case it would make sense to just allow the movement and then allow it to be safely across. And hopefully Caltrans reconsiders the Hawk and just makes it a full-on red, yellow, green so people don't get confused Because I know what happens in Millbrae. I've seen it in San Mateo. People don't know what to do with the hawk. So I hope that there's some talk about like making those red, yellow, green signals instead of just the flashing reds. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else who hasn't spoken that wants to speak? No? Hearing none. Okay, I'll close public comment. And we'll go to commissioners' comments. Let's start on the other end. Commissioner Couchy, you want to start it off?
Sure. So I'll start by saying that I support this right turn only, but I'm going to say there was a surprise statement made by two of the public comments that the right turn isn't going to solve all our problems. And the fact that we have, on average, 6 accidents in the last 6 months, we've already had a fatality there. I think this needs to be taken very seriously. I walk quite often in that area, and I avoid the crosswalk. I did it once, and I'll never do that again. So, so I do think that is a dangerous intersection, not only for cars, but also for pedestrians. The comment, the thought or the question I have is, you know, we need to do something. So that's why I'm supportive of the right turn only. But I also think we need to dig deeper to see what else we can do. If those trees are going to be cut down for the El Camino project, could we just escalate cutting them down? Do we need to wait for that project? Because that really seems to be what the problem is. There's a lack of visibility. So go ahead through the chair.
Or do you have any questions?
Anything else?
The only other thing I would say, I thought Mateo comment about the early signage, I think was a really good idea. Because I could see somebody driving up there and then being like, ugh, and just doing it anyway. And that's it.
Okay. Ron, do you want to respond?
Through chair, yes, as well, you can tell, like, was it last winter when we did have trees going down? Those are just, they've been doing some work on El Camino. It's a huge process, right, that they're doing. And so they want to take care of all the trees during a certain, I'll say, period, right? They're going to try to knock them all out. And they have this plan that shows they're going to do these. And it also, you know, not only does it involve Caltrans, it also involves PG&E, because the whole point is to underground the utilities. And so it has to, it's like a concert, right? You've got your first part, your second part, and your third and fourth movements. So unfortunately, and unless the tree starts coming down or something, it will be removed as part of the project, because, I mean, it's too costly for us to take on removing that one tree. And then why didn't we remove the other trees, right? I believe while we've had, and knock on wood again, but we've had collisions here. I believe the fatality wasn't here. It was at the next one at Floribunda, you know, and El Camino. I'll double check with the traffic sergeant, because I actually was at, there was a fatal bicycle, but there was a injury with a motorcycle, severe injury with a motorcycle. I believe that was at Floribunda. But yeah, we're pushing them, and obviously we have the plans and we're reviewing them and trying to get a turnaround. But and they have their general contractor, construction manager, general contractor. So they're reviewing the plans. So they have someone aboard to look at it and kind of weeding it out. So it's not, when they hit the ground, they maybe potentially have a contractor early on. If not, a lot of the issues have been handled because the contractor, having worked on these things and not necessarily a designer, and knows the difficulties of what happens here. They've already worked on us, and we've tried to been working with them on potential detours and closures. So it's moving along, but again, ripping the trees out now probably isn't a possibility, or isn't feasible at this right now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioner Israelit?
Okay. So I'm supportive of this. Basically, it's a good idea we had in 2018, and now we're just getting stricter and making sure that hopefully it's obeyed and paid attention to. So I'm supportive of it. I do think that, and I drive past this intersection almost every morning, and when I have seen people go straight across El Camino, as I'm coming down El Camino, I'm like, who would do that? Like with a death wish? I know it's super, super dangerous, just mind boggling, but so I do like what I heard from public comments about adding a crosswalk across Bellevue, because it's still a tough turn. And if cars are turning onto El Camino, we've got those poles and other visual cues, it could get lost. They may forget that kids are crossing, and people grocery shopping at Molly Stone's and everything cross there. So is it possible to add a crosswalk across Bellevue just to protect those pedestrians, since we're making the intersection a little more complicated? And then I was just going to comment about the Caltrans thing. I mean, once those trees are taken care of, hopefully those right turns will be safe. But there's very little we can do to get Caltrans to address that immediately. It's just not going to happen. So, and then I also agree with the early signage, because I know even myself, sometimes when you get frustrated and you're in an unfamiliar situation and you just know you need to go that way and you don't really know your way around, sometimes you just close your eyes and go. You did not hear that, officer. But I do like that idea as well. So with those three or those two caveats, adding a crosswalk, if we're able to, I don't know the regulations that restrict that across Bellevue and the early signage, I think that we should do it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Israelit. You didn't have any response to that? I think that was pretty clear, right? You didn't have any questions? No, you, Commissioner Israelit. Okay. Commissioner Brown.
No, I agree with the two young ladies at my left here. I think it's interesting because I do think adding a high visibility crosswalk to that section will actually attract drivers to pay more attention to what's happening in that around that area. So on that corner. So the only thing that really still bugs me about this, and I agree, I think we should certainly do something here, is whatever those yellow lines represent, is there something that could be used that would also make sure you bring your attention to making that turn, but it doesn't look so, I don't know. Yeah, just looks, yeah. And again, the yellow lines don't, I'm sure they don't do it justice here, but so you don't block the visibility. I think adding the crosswalk will add visibility to that, something going on in that intersection with the signs, the right turn only signs. Those are the only things that I'm questioning whether what they potentially could look like, and if they, I think Arlene brought it up earlier, are they, Commissioner Couchy brought up earlier, are there something that's going to fit and exist in the Caltrain proposal? But I think it's a good idea to make this a right turn.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Wong, I will help you with your PowerPoint skills if you want me to draw less jankier yellow lines. I am in marketing, so I would agree with my peers on the panel. The larger systemic issues of El Camino aren't within our control, so it seems to me that this immediate action will provide maybe not 100% safety, but further efforts to improve that intersection, even at some modicum level. I drove over there tonight. I drove over there this afternoon. I agree you can't see the sign that says no left turn. I was looking for it and I was like, where is this? And it is a bit of a wing and a prayer to cross that in any direction. So I think that this is a good first step. Hardly is going to solve all of our problems. I did also notice, just as I was looking at it, not only was the left side, the trees were very problematic, and I can see if you know that intersection, you're gonna, look for it and look for that window. But the trees on the right side too, if you were trying to make a left turn, because you didn't know, are also, you're kind of judging on both sides. And again, if you didn't see that sign, you wouldn't know that. So I think all this is a good starting point. I don't think I have a lot more to say other than what's already been said. I do agree, if we can put that crosswalk in as part of the plan, that makes a lot of sense given this location and its proximity to McKinley and the amount of foot traffic on El Camino at that particular place.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And Mr. Wong, I too believe this is a good first step. I think when we looked at this last time, we talked about closing Bellevue. Am I correct completely?
That's correct.
The traffic? Yeah. So this, this is a compromise. I agree it's not perfect. And I too drove there last night and I saw that sweet spot. And once I came up to the stop sign, it was pretty, it wasn't very, it was, my vision was blocked. And so I know what you're talking about. I like the idea that this is temporary so that when we move forward with the ECR redevelopment, we can revisit this and see if we want to reestablish the through crossing there on El Camino. I too like the three comments that were made, and I'm wondering, Mr. Wong, if we can add these to the proposal. One is to have that marked crosswalk across Bellevue, have the early signage a little earlier prior to that stop sign, and then do something with the left turn sign, no left turn sign as well. But with those caveats, I would support this as a good first step, and to be revisited once Caltrans remove those trees and we know what the sight lines really looks like. So can you comment on whether we can add into the proposal the crosswalk?
Sure.
Well, and then we as a commission can vote on whether we want all those things added in.
Through chair?
Yeah.
So obviously the advanced signage is something, it's no different than what the kind of the no through traffic restriction we have up by Hoover. It's just so folks don't get stuck there and say, I didn't know. We can definitely add that. That's on our side. The high visibility crosswalk, which we support, but that'll be part of the coordination we have with Caltrans because right there, that is there, the intersection is there. So we will explore that with them. And then as far as delineators, we can probably remove some, but I'd like to add that all throughout the schools where we've put some of the bulb outs, these delineators exist. Granted, those are always stops, but with the crosswalks. So we can, obviously, if we're hoping to add the crosswalk, that'll be part of it. But those delineators serve as a vertical. I don't think we want to put anything lower because those will be harder to be seen. But again, that's just something to just reinforce that's a hard line there, not someone to try to make a left. And just it'll hopefully act for people slowing down a little bit too as they approach that so they don't hit it. But we can definitely look at pursuing the crosswalk. I won't make until we talk to Caltrans, but it as the one resident pointed out, it is a crossing. It's just an unmarked crossing, and we can try to mark that.
Okay, so I'm good with the delineators. It was the left turn, and now I'm thinking about it more, and that left turn sign's probably in Hillsborough's jurisdiction. Am I right?
Yeah, and and that sign, we could beef it up, but it's also now we're going to have right at the point we're going to have right turn only.
Yeah.
So you can't miss that.
Okay.
No left turn.
All right. Sergeant says moot point. Okay. Okay. So before we take a vote, take a motion and vote, Ms. Brewer, we had an email or two. Is that correct? Can you tell me how many and who was the sender?
Yes, we received one email on this item.
Okay.
A Ellie Bird.
Okay. Okay. And I think that person was in favor of the right turn only.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So, commissioners, you've heard the proposal. It sounds like the proposal could be amended with the early signage, and if we can work things with Caltrans, the crosswalk across Bellevue So with that, does someone want to make a motion? I move that.
I would be happy to.
Okay.
I move that the commission recommends that the staff move forward with this proposal for the westbound right turn only restriction at Bellevue at El Camino Real, with the amendments that they investigate installing high visibility crosswalk across Bellevue in conjunction with Caltrans. And what's the second thing?
The
Oh, and
early signage.
signage on Bellevue, notifying drivers that it's right turn only.
All right. I'm not going to attempt to repeat that. So does somebody want to just second that?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, very good. All right. Motion made by Commissioner Israelit, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Ms. Brewer, could we have a roll call, please? Vote.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Couchy,
I support.
Commissioner Israelit,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martos.
Aye. Okay, so the motion passes 5-0. Mr. Wong, thank you very much for your work. Public, thank you for your feedback. We appreciate it and look forward to the implementation sometime in the future. All right. We're going to move on to item 6B, which is nominations for chair and vice chair for 2025. We're about a month late, but we didn't have a full commission, so we wanted to wait till we had all 5 here. And we can do that now, since we have a full commission. So the floor is open for nominations. We'll start with chair.
I would like.
You want to be chair? Yes.
I would like to, first of all, not nominate myself, having served chair for 2 years. I would like to nominate Vice Chair Martos to be chair next year. And may I also nominate
No,
a vice chair?
no. We'll
Okay.
do that next.
Okay.
Because if I decline,
Don't get greedy.
it's tough.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
One thing at a time.
All right.
But once we finish the chair part, then you may nominate someone as vice chair.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this one thing at a time. Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? I won't nominate you, I promise. Okay. All right. So one candidate, me, for chair. So can we have a vote?
Yes.
Ms. Brewer?
Commissioner Brown,
Oh, aye.
Commissioner Couchy,
Aye.
Commissioner Israelit,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
And I already accepted, so I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence in me. Yeah, especially with 2 new commissioners. It should be a really good year. I'm looking forward to great new, fresh ideas.
Yeah.
And we still have our veterans here to help out and mentor and advise. Just don't violate the Brown Act. You can't do that, right? All right, very good.
Nothing to do with me.
No, different Brown. It's a different Brown.
Want to make.
Different. Could have been one of your ancestors, but no. All right. So Commissioner Israelit, now you may nominate someone for vice chair and then others can nominate as well. But I kind of cut you off, so I feel guilty. So we'll go back to you. Did you want to nominate someone for vice
Like
chair?
nominating Commissioner Couchy, who has been with us now for
Year.
A whole year.
for vice chair. I know that our new commissioners are incredibly capable and worthy, but it's not super fun to be a vice chair your first year because you have to run the meetings if the chair is on vacation. And it's sometimes nice to get a year under your belt before you do that. So hence my nomination of very capable Commissioner Fauci.
Very good. And do you accept, Commissioner Couchy?
I accept.
You accept. Okay. So are there any other nominations for vice chair? See, Commissioner Israelit spoke up because she doesn't want to be an officer here. She nominated both chair and vice chair. Okay. All right.
Could throw Commissioner Brown or Commissioner a loophole here, and I won't do that.
All right. All right. So hearing no other nominations, let's take a vote on Commissioner Couchy for the vice chair.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
We'll skip Commissioner Couchy since she accepted. Commissioner Israelet,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martos.
It's Chair Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. Excuse me.
Aye.
Chair Mar-
Aye. We dropped the vice part now. It's official. Yeah. Aye. Aye.
The power is already in play here.
I see that.
May the force be with us. Okay.
Funny.
All right. Very good. Well, welcome. So we're going to be planning agendas together and working with Mr. Wong to have a rocking good year. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do we have to nominate our new traffic sergeant, or what's going on over there now? Who is our new traffic
Missed
sergeant
them.
coming in?
Be Sergeant Jason Orloff, who I believe has participated,
Oh,
so he's not
yeah.
fully unfamiliar with this
Who?
process.
Or
An Orloff.
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 Orloff?
Yeah.
See.
Is it ORLOFF?
Correct.
Okay. I think he stood in one time, right, when you were out of town or something?
Not for me, but I believe he was involved in the traffic unit
Okay.
for
Sergeant Berno
years past.
or
He's probably
earlier?
stepped in for some in the past.
Yeah, we had Corporal Morel step in one.
Right. So he was my corporal for a while, and I
Yeah.
believe with Sergeant when now Lieutenant Perna had Sergeant Orloff, who was then a corporal, as his second in command.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, Sergeant, we appreciate the time that you've spent with us.
Thank you.
And we kind of look forward to seeing you on the street, but we really don't want to see you on the street. Probably doing something wrong.
Oh, I'll smile.
Anyway, all right. So we will, okay, all kidding aside, we have to move on with the agenda. So, Commissioners, so we're done with B. Very good. We're going to move on to C. And I want to make a suggestion. I want to actually make a motion that we table discussion on item C, which is the review of our Commissioner Operations Manual. And I'll tell you why. In 2012, when I joined this commission, I was given this big, thick binder right here. And I've just recently removed things that I haven't used for 11 years. But the one area, section that I have used regularly, especially as chair, is the rules, the commission rules and procedures. And I think it's important that especially new commissioners and all of us really get the copy of the rules that we've been using for the past almost 12 years. What we were provided is either an updated version of this or it's an obsolete version of this, but I can't tell which one. And so I'm hesitant to say that we should adopt what was provided in the packet until we know whether it preceded this or it's obsolete now because of what I was provided 12 years ago. So I've asked Mr. Wong if he would, and I've provided him with the copy of the commission rules that I have, so he can compare against the ones that was provided in our packet. And what I'm hoping for is one clear set of rules that we operate by, not two. And so Mr. Wong accepted my request, and he's, if the commission's okay with it, we can table this till the next month or whatever, you know, if I don't know how we're going to do, if we're going to actually discuss it in a special meeting, in our regular monthly meeting, or we're just going to say, this is our procedures and rules, here you go, and we don't need to discuss it. But that's the reason that I think we should table this item 6C. And because, so I move that we table item 6C with that argument. Does anybody want to second that? Does have to be voted on.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
John, just because for the new commissioners, it would
Yeah.
be great to
Yeah.
have the most updated information and we're all on the same page. That would help
Okay.
from my perspective.
Okay.
Agreed.
Very good. Are there any dissenting votes? Anybody disagree with that? Okay. Ms. Brewer, by unanimous consent, we're going to table this to a future meeting, possibly. Okay. Now, I'm not in a hurry to get out tonight, but I also wanted to table item 6D, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to get home. No, because the guidelines for establishing a committee, for monitoring a committee, you know, like what do we expect of the committee, for disbanding the committee and for staffing the committee really are not clear. I've had a number of discussions with our city attorney this week about this, and I wanted to understand what rules should we be following if we're going to establish committees? I wrote down some notes that he and I in our discussion had. I passed them to Mr. Wong, but I asked our city attorney, can you formalize this? You know, these are just notes that he and I discussed, but if it comes from the legal department, now this is something we really should follow, right? It should be part of our rules in our commissioner packet. The one thing that was really clear is, you know, the scope of our committee should be within the jurisdiction of this commission, right? And there's a number of other things, but I wanted it formalized before we move forward with forming committees and I know we have a couple of committees that we want to disband because they're done. The heartburn that I have with this is the attorney said that we need to agendize these things. So if we're going to establish a committee, it needs to be agendized like item 6 somewhere. If we're going to disband, it needs to be in item 6 that we, as a committee, say, we want to establish this, and we're going to say why. We'll vote on it. You know, if we want it to be an ad hoc committee or we want it to be a standing committee, right? There's two kinds of committees we can have. And for this reason, and we as a commission will vote on that. Likewise with disbanding, you know, we feel as a commission, we received the final report of the committee, and we feel as a commission, and I keep having my back to you. You should be
Right.
sitting over here.
Okay. I'm not.
Critical masses on that side. As a commission, we feel like the work has been done by the committee, and so we should vote to disband. And that's the process that the city attorney outlined for me. And he promised by next month we would have that in writing from the legal department. So we have a couple of options. I recommend that we don't take any formal action on committees. If we want to, we can talk about maybe if we want to form another committee to study something that we've got coming up, or if we want to consider disbanding anything that's on our current list of committees next month when we meet. But that's my proposal, that we really cannot establish new committees and we can't formally disband our current committees until we get direction from the city attorney and we have it agendized. That makes sense? Yes, Commissioner Israelet.
I did go over this with Attorney Spansale.
Yep.
Has he left us?
Scott is gone. Yep. He's
Um,
San Francisco now, MTA, I think.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's
Yeah.
a great opportunity for him. But
Yeah.
when I was chair, we started getting down to brass tacks, figuring out how we're supposed to do things. And
Right,
so I was told things, but it never was in writing.
right.
I think it's fine to formalize things just so we have and for moving forward for new, once we retire.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That being said, you know, we've discussed a couple of times sunsetting the BIS school safety study. So, I guess I could bring this up when we talk about future agenda items, but, I would like to just mention that that one I think is ready to be disbanded.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to talk about any new ones, but we did also have an El Camino Real renewal project, like a liaison commission, which was disbanded because they weren't getting started.
Right, right,
Might be something to do in the future, but probably not yet.
right, right. Yeah, well, I think when that project officially kicks off, that we
Exactly.
are going to have to choose a couple of commissioners to staff that
Yeah.
as well, but it's TBD still, just like Vision Zero is TBD still, you know?
Is it okay to make a recommendation?
You may, yeah, and we can put this on the agenda next month.
Sure. My recommendation would be, given that we are looking at the operating procedures and commission operations, that
Mhm.
goes part and parcel with that anyway.
Right,
So having those two things formalized together makes a whole lot of sense. And then perhaps for at least tonight, I'm assuming we're going to do updates on the committees that are in place, or is there a report today on those committees, or?
we will have a report on one.
On one, okay. And, yeah, and maybe
Yeah,
we just do that and we
yeah,
lump the other two things together.
yeah, yeah.
When we get a little
Yeah.
more time to put the process behind.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on that? Yeah, Commissioner Couchy.
Just one comment, and that is I'm kind of thinking through in my head what is going on with the grant program, and do we need a committee around that? If we do, it's, January, February, March. It's a 3-month project. So if we do need a committee, it would be something we would need to start sooner rather than later.
Got it.
May I ask,
Yeah,
is
sure.
this a specific grant or is this
This is the AMP,
the one that you?
The city threats.
yeah.
City threat.
Another way to say it, yeah.
Got it.
Okay, sorry.
No, I just wanted to clarify, are we talking about like someone to work on grants in general?
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Right. Okay, so yes, and we can formalize that next month.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda. Okay. All right, well, if there's no other comments, then again, I move that we table the discussion on committees to next month. So Ms. Brewer, can we have a roll call, vote, please?
Do we get a second?
Oh, wait, I need a second.
A second.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Okay, now a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Couchy,
Aye.
Commissioner Israelit,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martos.
Chair Martos, aye.
I'm sorry, Chair Martos. Take a little getting used to.
Sorry. Vice Chair Couchy.
When he shows up.
Oh, I was
Brown.
quick enough.
Can I make a motion to have a special plaque made?
All right, let's move on. I think the Warriors are playing tonight, aren't they?
They're
Might get
game
home in time.
They won.
Game over.
I actually saw the game. Am I not supposed to say that?
Say again?
They did, they won.
They did.
Oh, they won.
It went down to the last 4, yeah,
Yeah. Like,
to the last 4 seconds. It was,
Oh, goodness.
You want to
Okay.
give them any more detail on who's, yeah.
All right,
Taping that.
so item 6 is closed. We'll go on to item 7, informational items. Any public comment, Ms. Brewer? On anything on item 7?
Nope, we have nothing.
Okay, we're good. All right. Let's see, community group updates? No, nothing. Engineering reports, Mr. Wong. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Martos, and I'm always saying chair.
Oh, please, you flatter me.
And before, I don't want to take credit for something one of the residents mentioned, through our notification process.
Yep.
We notify parcels, owners, and then basically people who get a water bill, because that's what's in our database. And so because of that, I'd like to thank Mr. Ting, Kyle Ting, who you've seen, because
Yeah.
he lives within the 500 feet of the noticing.
Oh,
He would
okay.
provide the notice to the other residents that showed up tonight.
Okay.
That wasn't all, although we sent out 300 notices, I believe those folks were due to the effort of Mr. Ting. So just want to make sure he gets the proper.
Thank you.
vote.
Appreciate it.
All right. So with that, we'll give you, and for the other three commissioners, not the new ones, the engineer reports usually are not this long. We're providing this one just as to kind of give both of you a quick, brief, actually, update on the projects that we have going that the commission has seen. And if you have more questions on it, you can definitely email me and we can definitely talk about a little bit more about it. But just want to make sure you guys get up to speed a little bit of the happenings with the commission. And yeah, just to help things smooth, your transition a little smoother. So as we talked about earlier, El Camino Real Renewal Project, the purpose of this is to rehabilitate the roadway, more for the flooding issues, improve visibility, and upgrade the pedestrian facilities that we have out there. Like I said, there will be several hawks put in, the signals will be modified. Hawk is I can't say pedestrian beacon, but it's the warning device. Anyway, it'll give you a red light. It's the ones you see on El Camino and Millbrae as well as San Mateo. It's a 3-mile project because it starts in San Mateo and it will end up at Millbrae Avenue. There's a little link here for if you want some more information of what's happened before, how we got to where we're at. But I will add that at some point in the next few months, we've been kind of putting this one off until we had a full commission, is to you can ask all your questions to Caltrans staff themselves and where we are on the project. They had previously given an update to council. And so you guys are due for one as well. So you can ask them the questions, but they will give you a better scheduling, be able to answer your scheduling questions a little better. Any questions on that? Although we're informational, so we'll take some limited questions if you have any. Okay, the next item, if you haven't heard already, the Assembly Bill 413, it's now in effect starting January 1. If you park within 20 feet approach side of a marked or unmarked crosswalk, you are subject to not only previously been a warning, and I'll leave that to our PD whether it's still a warning, but now you're able to be cited throughout California. So we're working on the high pedestrian areas, the downtowns, the parks, the schools, of getting those either spaces that we have marked removed or red curbing it. The residential neighborhoods, while there are some there, the plan is not necessarily, unless it becomes a big issue, to mark those, because it does not become, our painting crew would just be doing nothing for the next couple of years, but painting and repainting curbs. So I believe if there's an issue with that, someone sees that or they want to note it, they can call the non-emergency line and PD will dispatch someone out there to, no different if someone's blocking your driveway, something of that extent. Broadway grade separation. It's a project to raise the tracks and keep the roadway as is, to remove the at-grade crossing we have there at Broadway in California. The project is under final design. However, we are working as, I think the other commissioners know, a construction manager, general contractor to get a real hold of the cost of what it is, and even any opportunities to lower that cost. Right now, we are working on trying to refine that because we have found some cost increases, so that we're working, and council will be getting an update on some of those and what the new cost estimates are, and there'll be some tough decisions to be made on that one. So look for an upcoming council meeting when we update them if you guys want to more information on that one. California Drive Phase 2. This project is almost half a mile of Class 1 bicycle facility along California Drive. This is now the section south of Oak Grove, just before the station. So it's a project we're thinking about trying to put, and I think Commissioner Johnson had asked about this in her interview, and I just wanted to point out, yes, this is something in consideration. something and put a class 1 facility, not a class 4 facility like we have in California now, but a class 1 facility to match what we have on the other side of the roundabout, something to keep it, whatever, 6 inches above or off the street. So we will be bringing that to you both in the form of community meetings and as far as meetings here, where we will show you some of the plans and start getting feedback from the community. However, the project, again, we're dealing with along the rail line, parts of the right away, even though they look like in the city of Burlingame, they are part of the CPUC. And so right now this project's on hold while we work on an existing agreement, a new agreement with them to try to obtain some of that space. So even some of the roundabout is in CPUC right away for whatever reason, but that's what we're working on to clean that up. So next, South Rollins update. This is a traffic calming project on Rollins, south of Broadway. We're looking at trying to put in some traffic circles, chicanes, rubberized medians along South Rollins. So between south of Broadway all the way to, I guess, the city border, right? Peninsula. So we're looking at, because right there, that's as PD will tell you too, that's where there's a lot of speeding, because up against one side, you just have the sound wall and folks are able to fly. So we've had a lot of concerns with folks out there. So this hopefully is something we can try to do to help slow down the speed. So we'll be bringing this back to you. It says here the 22nd, we may delay that, but we are looking at trying to work on getting the community. It says full design 2025 this summer, but we'll see how it goes. But we're going to be starting again. We'll reach out to the community, present the project, and then start getting feedback of their concerns, and then take that information. We'll show you this chart that we have to show you the process of some of the projects, but we'll bring it back once we've come up with some options to see where the community is, show what it looks like, some visuals of, like, if it's a chicane, what it might look like out there, where the location might be. If it's a traffic circle, same type of thing, what it looks like, how it might operate, and then we'll share that and get feedback and then tweak the design a little bit. So it's an iterative process, but that's just make sure the community's in the loop and folks have some participation. So we're trying to make sure we identify everyone, and we'll get notices out just like this meeting. And for the first one, we may be at the community center. Yes.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
please go ahead.
For a community workshop with a project like that, is it mainly the folks then living in that particular stretch that are involved and notified?
So question for that one. So we'll notify in two parts. We'll definitely send out noticing to the folks that live along that corridor, and we try to do a little bit more. We do 500 feet off of it. And then we'll also have this in the city's e-news, and we'll probably we'll use the Nextdoor and social media just to let other folks know. Because obviously, while it impacts a certain neighborhood, it will, everyone drives through the streets.
Right.
But we can't notice everyone in the city. Yes,
For
that would be a little too long.
Thank you.
Now on the other side, North Rollins, we have a project right now that it's a design and construction of about a little over a mile of class 4 bicycle facility north of Broadway on Rollins. We've looked at options. There's been a study up there. But again, we're going to be reaching out to businesses, everyone along the corridor, as well as putting it in social media and all that, just to get folks involved on this. So the part is to try to put in a class 4 facility along Rollins to try to connect you so you can get from Broadway all the way to Millbrae. And well, part of that, we will need to coordinate also with City of Millbrae, because at Adrian there are changes, but that's something you'll be seeing soon. And again, we'll either start with a community meeting, or if we start getting some stuff here, we can do what we previously have done, give you guys the preview before we go into the community meeting. So you're all able to attend the community meeting, as long as you don't talk about it together, violation of the Brown Act, but you're able, and you should attend the community meeting. I'll give you the first kind of test to see how folks are, how they look at the project. Hillside, sorry, thank you.
No worries.
We looked a couple months ago at traffic calming along Hillside, starting up at Alvarado down to El Camino. We brought folks in. At the time, we didn't get a lot of support for some of the improvements that were all over. So we're going to reconvene with the subcommittee at some point and maybe look at some other options or maybe phasing options to see where people are bringing in them slowly and then introducing it and then seeing how folks are. It's a slower process, but maybe it builds, will work with the community better. So that's something we'll look at, but I have to work with the subcommittee on that. Oak Grove Carolyn traffic signal. So we're looking at, we have a project under design and study of a traffic signal at the intersection of Oak Grove and Carolyn. It's to actually try to improve pedestrian safety through there, because if you cross there and the train's coming, there's no indication for anyone. You're a pedestrian, you could be caught out in the crosswalk with cars going and cars needing to clear the track. So we've been trying to work on something like that. We have to work with the California Public Utilities Commission as far as some of the design. They had a bunch of questions and comments, so we're currently addressing those. But we're also looking at something different than you had seen a flashing yellow arrow. We may move away from that. So we're also re-reviewing the operations, because that will have an impact delay, but it's probably a choice to not include that. It just makes it a little less confusing. So we'll try to come back to you with that, but that's where that project is at.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Sorry, Mr. Wong.
Yeah.
Just in general, because go from California, the track is there, the high school's there.
Yep.
Is there space to put a stop or some kind of traffic between the railroad track and Carolyn? I mean, they're literally right next to each other.
No, absolutely. Through the chair.
So we can't discuss it,
Oh,
but you
okay,
can,
sorry,
no,
just
but
that.
however, you can tell Commissioner Brown what was proposed, what we were going to do at that intersection.
So, sure. So right now we're proposing a signal, and that signal requires coordination. It will be coordinated with the one in California. So there's specific plans that would make them work together. So it's not like but you'll get to see some of that and we can discuss it further.
Okay.
But that's a
wasn't-
great question.
It wasn't red, green, yellow. There was a flashing arrow.
We did have something like that, but we're removing
Right.
that. So you'll see the operation, because that'll be a big issue, because if the operations are poor, you folks are going to have to be okay with that, but it's a trade-off. A lot of things we do here are trade-offs, safety versus the delay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry, Murchison, Truesdale, Davis update. This is design and construction of bicycle facilities along the previously mentioned streets, different facilities depending on the street. We had given the commission an update or a little preview of that project. And what we plan to do is bring it back to the entire community, notice everyone, make sure we get a nice show here of folks, and then we'll show them. I believe we showed that we were going to do changes on Murchison and Davis, but because of the feedback we had gotten in previous meetings, we weren't going to tackle Truesdale at this time. And this brings us to City Threads update. Otherwise, we're a recipient of an AMP Accelerated Mobility Grant, thanks to Commissioner Couchy working on it.
Chair.
My bad. Vice Chair Couchy.
Here we go.
Oh,
I'm glad it's not just.
I won't
Sorry,
put that one.
sorry, Mr. Wong, I just,
Like you were waiting.
Keep it.
sorry, please go on.
No. Again, we'll be working with a national nonprofit in a way to try to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Chair Couchy, that we're trying to see improve the process, trying to increase the outreach so we don't have to, we have an iterative process, and maybe we can minimize some of that where we have some of the questions answered beforehand. So this is trying to make sure we reach all the stakeholders, I believe is the process. What we're trying to do, we're trying to identify not only elected officials, active folks like yourselves, but the businesses and the interested and general public. So we're trying to make sure, and they're going to look and see if there's any way we can improve upon that. I believe that's trying the big push on it. Okay.
Did you want me to comment or no, Jake?
You have a quick one.
You got a report coming up if you want to save
Sure.
it for that. Yeah.
All right. Next one, Peninsula Dwight update. As you know, last year there was a fatality at this intersection. So we've been coordinating with the city of San Mateo on improvements there. They have implemented, we've restriped those crosswalks to be high visibility marked crosswalks. They've implemented a lead pedestrian interval, which gives the pedestrian the walk sign before the vehicle. So that's something that they've already done. They are currently looking at other options and maybe changing lane configurations there or changing signal operations. That's something they're reviewing. And we're also, because we're working with them on and we share half the peninsula, we're using this meeting also to look at other places, some traffic calming on Barrelay, other areas on Peninsula. So that's where we are on that project. And Vision Zero update. Again, this is we received a grant for Safe Streets for All. So we were awarded almost $500,000 and with a local match of 120. So this is a development action plan regarding all our basically citywide of all the locations of trying to reduce any collisions to zero, both pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular. Right now, we've been in contact, or we've been working with the selected consultant on it. And I just looked at the outreach plan that will be going. There will be several meetings that you guys will get at council and community meetings, as well as little pop-up meetings. More information on it there, but I expect Mr. Sy to provide us an update. And then there's also a subcommittee. So I believe it's Chair Martos that's on that. He'll be able to update you at some point. So with that, if you have any questions, we can answer, but that's the engineer's update for this month.
Yeah, very comprehensive. Any questions?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, please.
This is like really awesome because some of these things that we started working on years ago, you know, and we don't see the progress because you're working with CPUC and as a commissioner, it's frustrating sometimes to put a lot of thought and effort and listen to presentations that you put thought and effort into, and then just not hear anything for years.
Okay.
I think this is a list that I would save as a commissioner because it is you know, we're seeing everything listed all together, everything that we've been working on, and so. First of all, I appreciate it. And second of all, just want you to know that like, this is really nice for us to feel a part of a team, like we know what's going on and to know what's going on behind the scenes because it's complicated and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, we can try to do a little bit more of this, and definitely when we have, I mean, the opportunity here is because I don't think we've had two right away, two new commissioners on it. Usually it's one and the other four have been involved. So we can try maybe again, the beginning of the year is always a great time, right? Where we do everything. So we can take a look at doing that again.
Well, thank you very much.
So you guys are getting special treatment.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Several of these projects precedes Commissioner Couchy's tenure as well. So keep up the good work, Mr.
Just say I did color my hair when we first started working. I'm now coloring my hair.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to ask
So is our chairman.
Commissioner Israel, is there anything missing?
The only thing that's missing
Yeah.
is the California Broadway. We talked about
Oh.
California and Broadway and removing a lane of parking, eliminating 6 parking spots so that more traffic could line up at the red light so that more traffic could get through each light.
Right,
And we
right.
did have public comment and meeting on that. I don't know if that's still active and possible. I did speak to the attorneys and they said there's no legal reason that we could not proceed, which is thought to.
We can talk about that one. It's just, if you recall that meeting, there was a lot of feedback about, you know, especially for that
Taking away
block
parking. Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've gone down that, you know, with the bicycle project. So it's something we we should explore and discuss. Understanding the trade-offs, but I mean, it's, yeah, making sure everyone understands the trade-offs and maybe I think those folks are also expecting another meeting to talk about that because I have been getting some like, hey, have you discussed this? Because they'll see, we talked about the parking restriction change in California and they thought, hey, is that talking about our section of California without reading the entire notice? So it's something we'll probably have to bring back
Okay.
to discuss. So that's the latest on that one, but we have to come up with either an alternative or, I mean, it's tough.
Yep.
I just had one question on the separation of,
Sure.
do we know where we stand on the funding?
With the state,
Broadway grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
same thing too.
Are they 50% funded, 80?
You may have to
How close are?
council. We
Yeah.
did lose 70 million in funding, which is nice to hear this past week that the state no longer has a deficit, but
Yeah.
they can thank us because we gave back 70 million for that. So
Okay.
little
All right.
this week.
All right. Okay.
That so we didn't,
Pardon?
I thought we got it back, but we did not.
We did not.
So we will close item 7C and we'll move on. Sergeant Roberts, Police Department reports.
Thank you. For the month of December, I'm reporting on 9 collisions that occurred in the month of December. As a reminder, collisions that occurred on private property or hit and run where no cause could be determined, or collisions that are criminal in nature, such as DUI, were filtered out and do not appear in my report. In this month, we had 7 collisions, which involved a vehicle colliding with another vehicle. We had 1 collision with a fixed or other object, and 1 collision involved a pedestrian. Most common collision factors were right-of-way violations, unsafe turning movements, and red light violations. And I will highlight several collisions that I feel would be important to the commission. And then if you have any questions regarding the ones that I didn't talk about, be more than happy to discuss or further discuss the ones that I did. First is the third collision from top, case number ending in 3193. This was a collision that occurred in the Sequoia and Garden Drive involving the pedestrian. This particular collision involved a pedestrian that was walking southbound on the east side of, oh, excuse me. No, that's not correct. A pedestrian was crossing Garden Drive at Sequoia, and a vehicle was making a left-hand turn onto Garden Drive at low speed. The vehicle collided with the pedestrian, causing minor injury, complaint of pain to the leg.
Flush.
That was the details of that one. Then we have a vehicle versus vehicle collision. This was the one that occurred at El Camino in Bellevue. So this was a vehicle traveling westbound on Bellevue, comes to a stop at the stop sign at El Camino, and then attempted to cross El Camino to the other side and continue, but it collided with a vehicle that was traveling northbound on El Camino in the number 1 lane. This collision resulted in complaint of pain to one of the drivers. And then the last on the list, which is the Primrose and Burlingame Avenue area. This was a vehicle attempting to exit the municipal lot J, which is the one with the playground, and enter onto Primrose. However, there's already a vehicle traveling northbound on Primrose, and they collided. And this collision resulted in a complaint of pain to both parties. I'll take any questions regarding those or others. Yes.
May I?
Questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us about the accident at Chapin and El Camino, the very first one?
Sure. This is this seems Chapin and El Camino, we do have this happen more frequently than, well, El Camino everywhere, but this is 2 vehicles. One vehicle is traveling southbound on El Camino, and it turned left in front of the vehicle traveling northbound within the intersection.
Oh, okay.
So the left turn.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sergeant?
Is this a normal month?
I'd say this be a little on the lighter side.
Letter say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just a couple more questions on the pedestrian
Yes.
incident. So Sequoia Avenue, that's by that park, correct?
No, this would be off of Truesdale, in the neighborhood north of Truesdale, so Sequoia and Garden Drive. If you're traveling on Truesdale and you make a turn onto Sequoia going northbound, I believe one of the next intersections is Garden Drive, and it's a T intersection at that location.
I'm looking at it on my map.
And it's an unmarked crosswalk, I believe, at that location as well.
So it's an unmarked crosswalk. The person was walking and
And the vehicle was making a left turn. I believe there was a part of the statement that there was it was a morning 8 to 8:25 a.m. and they complained that there was some sun obstructing their vision and that they had slowed down but didn't see the pedestrian. And the collision was low speed and complaint of pain only to the pedestrian.
so the good news is it was low speed and it was minor.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go on to 7E. Any communication? Anybody have communication? Yes, Commissioner Israelet.
Well, I kind of have a question about communication. When
Sure.
we receive emails to the commission in general.
Yep.
Person who wrote about hillside traffic calming, automatic ticketing cameras. That's not part of this kind of I was just curious, thinking about it tonight, is that supposed to be a communication that's read into the record and it's a record of Teaspoon? Or does that just sit in email and is never really discussed?
So Mr. Wong or the chair is supposed to respond to those emails, and I've seen Mr. Wong respond to everything thus far.
But it doesn't have to become part of this public record.
I don't believe it's part of our meeting record, but it is it's written down, right? So it has become record, and we have a
Somewhere,
we have a database now, right, that people can query that has all this information in it.
So if someone were to, through the chair, if someone were to email us outside of something that were on the agenda.
Yeah.
Unless it was upcoming and they specifically put it for public comment, it's just in the mail to the group. I mean, like the mayor,
Okay.
the council members, I imagine, receive letters or information asking me inquiries, and it's not part of the public records.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's part of the project, we'll either we'll put it in here, as something we could put, as long as it's addressed to you. If it's sometimes like, Mr. Wong, this is happening.
Yeah.
On this particular one, you won't see that because staff will address that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets kind of late, but I don't think we can. We try to address it as you said. I'll
Right.
try to respond back to them, or someone else will respond back to them. But yeah,
I just want, I'm not.
excellent point. Yeah,
Proposing
excellent point.
any changes or anything. I just wanted to clarify after 7 years, it just finally is like, huh. So that's absolutely fine. I was literally just asking to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. So any other communication? No. Let's see. So the only other communication I had, like I said, I spoke with the attorney several times this week, is this new policy that we have about email comments. And, I asked, does it have to be 4:00 when we get all this stuff, or after 4:00? And you were here the night when we had 17 emails that Brewer had to read. I don't want to get 17 emails at 5:00 because Ms. Brewer's working at 4:00 to put 17 of them together, and then we don't have time to read it. So I asked the attorney, can we back that up a little bit? Maybe it'll make the cutoff earlier in the day so she has time to compile this stuff and get it out to us. We have time to read it because we're supposed to digest it and, look at it and use that as part of our decision making. So they were gracious enough, the city clerk and the city attorney, there's a couple of cutoffs. I guess there's a 10 o'clock cutoff, and Ms. Brewer, she's a busy lady, but she said she would get us the emails up to that point, and then any subsequent emails after between 10 and 4 will just come as part of the packet. So I think that's a good compromise, and I apologize if we made more work for you, but I did want to make sure that this commission has time to read those. And 1 or 2 is okay, but if we get 17 or 10, it may get overlooked. And I don't want to spend an hour or a half hour during the meeting reading those emails. And again, my back is to you the whole night, and I apologize. Keep looking this way.
I feel like the table.
I disagree. I disagree. I appreciate that.
So that's the only other communication that I had. So, okay. All right. And we do appreciate everything you do,
Oh.
Ms. Brewer.
I appreciate that.
All right. Item 8. So these are our committee reports. And is there no public comment? BIS, that's ready to sunset, so no report there. Hillside,
Yeah, Hillside, I
something
wasn't
to
sure
report?
what next step was, but it sounds like you and I need to chat to decide what the next step.
Correct.
Okay.
Trying to figure out, go back through and see what the meeting, just review some of that if we have to, but try to figure out some approach.
Yeah, I think, we sort of discussed it briefly, and kind of have an idea of where we're going, I think, so.
Okay, 6 or 8D, KPIs, Commissioner Couchy, any updates?
I still need to
I'm very
meet
popular.
Mr. Wong. Maybe now that I'm vice chair, he will. fit
Vice
on his
Chair
calendar.
Couchy.
We can set up a meeting.
Scusi.
We've been running around busy or something.
Totally understand.
We
It was
can
the
have a
holidays.
latte, and then you can have
Plus-
another latte.
Let's also, note it was the holidays. so-
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's the next step. And
all right. Envision Zero, I'm awaiting Mr. Sy to reach out, so,
Oh,
yes,
Vision Zero, is anything? Is anything
nothing,
that?
nothing other than they selected the contractor or the consultant. But we haven't done anything
Okay.
yet.
The subcommittee hasn't done anything. Staff's been, so we have the plan of how many, the outreach plan is where we're starting, and then we'll have the first meeting, and then everything will start falling domino.
Has council decided who's going to be on that? It was Vice Mayor Stevenson, who's now Mayor Stevenson, and they've had so much turnover on council. Okay. All right. I think it was going to be a Councilwoman Beach and Stevenson, but Beach is gone and Stevenson's mayor, so I don't know who's going to.
Yeah, I just do not know.
Okay. All right.
They'll have.
All right. Future agenda items, Mr. Wong. So we need to bring back the things we tabled tonight.
Hmm.
And if you can slip in that memorandum on Brown Act or whatever memorandum or whatever Brown Act information you can come up with that's clearly written. The one that I provided you, I thought was very clearly written, and it's just enough content that it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
As part of our packet, and you can, as you compile all this and put a comprehensive packet together for us, then I'd like to see that as part of it, because those are the 3 things really.
Yep.
Right? Our rules and procedures, the Brown Act that we have to follow,
And-
and then some addendum about how to create committees.
Yep.
Managing committees or whatever, committee management.
I think too,
Yeah.
we should maybe add, when I started, all the committees had 2 commissioners on.
Yeah.
them, And now they all have 1
Right.
on them, so we might want to have some thoughts around that as well.
Yeah, that'll be part of our
Yeah.
discussion next month when we form them. And that's, again, guidelines.
Yeah.
1 minimum, 2 can't have 3, right? So, and whether they include public, they can include public members, in which case they become standing committees. which is a lot more work and effort. Because now you have to have minutes, you have to have an agenda, you know, it's,
Post notice of your meeting.
it's almost, it's like a mini commission meeting if you have the public as part of that. But we have to discuss it and, you know, decide ad hoc or standing committee. So
Do we,
there's rules.
do we need to add to the structure of that also what the expectations are for committee reports, or is that, okay? That needs to be established as well.
Yeah, and that could vary. It depends what we as a commission want. Do we want to report out monthly? Do we want to report out in 6 months? You know, what's the sunset and what's the delivery, right? So we can decide individually on each committee that we form, how we're going to monitor progress, right?
I think it's nice, I mean, just to throw this out, I think it is nice to touch base monthly.
Yeah. Well, we've,
Keeps us on our toes.
yeah. Yeah.
You'll still, through chair, you'll still
Yeah.
have this on there.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll have that. But as far as a deliverable,
Yeah.
Got it,
Yeah.
like a KPI.
Yeah. 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 Mr. Wong, any other hot topics for our next meeting?
and through chair.
Yeah.
Discuss this, we'll have, at some point, we'll bring back, like I said, Murchison Truesdale Day
Yeah.
Community. Caltrans will make their El Camino renewal project. The TA, the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, they've wanted to meet with us on something different than what we had last time. This is US 101 mobility. They want to see the connections on either or to US 101. And so I think they're looking at, and it's probably something they need to do some outreach to each different agency. So they want to meet with us, with this group. And lastly, we'll be showing you the list of the annual street resurfacing. If you have any comments for bicycle facilities, for other improvements, well, not other improvements, it's a resurfacing project, but we do look at the striping there potentially for adding pedestrian or bicycle improvements on them. But we also have the bike ped master plan that we've been looking at, but you can take a look at the list and then come back and provide my colleagues any comments on that project,
Okay.
just for starters.
All right. And so it's up to the vice chair and I to make sure we don't put too much stuff on the agenda. We want to get out of here at a reasonable hour. But there never seems to be a lack of things to discuss. And it boggles my mind that the city's been incorporated for over 100 years and we still have a lot of work to do.
Never end.
But you know, that's okay. All right. Anything else?
Just have one quick question.
Sure.
You guys don't mind. So, in your photo slide of the Bellevue El Camino, the no right or right turn only sign on the left side of the road was shown on a red post. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I did want to comment that my hometown is a suburb very much like Burlingame outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And almost all of their stop signs
Stop signs have
are on it has like a little red reflective post, and you really notice the stop signs. It's not, I didn't know if it's a Pennsylvania thing and that, but
I've seen it in California.
kind of cool. I'm really surprised at how much more it makes you notice a bright red stop sign just because it has a red stick on the bottom.
That's something we've been kind of considering knocking around. So, but again,
I'm a fan.
think about we just have to figure out how, I just have to ask for it on my Christmas list on the upcoming budget if that's.
And we can all get out there with like our little cordless drills and put them up.
Please.
Cost effective.
So before we adjourn, I want to welcome our commissioner, Commissioner Johnson. You came highly recommended by somebody on council, and I'm glad that I didn't mess that up when we spoke and you still wanted to apply. But I hope, that you'll find this engaging, you'll find this value, that you will add value to the city through this effort. We do some really important things. We have police protection. That's how important we are, right? I'm looking forward to working with you. Commissioner Brown, known you for a long time. We've played softball competitively together. Our kids grew up in the same school, and dad's clubs and things like that. And it's nice to work with you in a formal setting and really work on things that I believe are really important to the city. We make a big difference. When you talk about safety, and we've talked a lot about safety around schools. Commissioner Israel has lived that for almost her entire tenure on this commission. And not just schools, but safety around our city. And again, 100 years incorporated, more than 100 years, and we're still working on the roads, but it is a very important thing that we do, I believe. So I hope you find it just as equally as important, and looking forward to working with us as much as we are looking forward to working with you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So. And with that,
And
Are you- Oh, you get to do this now.
I get to do the boom. Meeting adjourned. All right.
Done.